Hey everyone, my name is Jose, aka Joe Engineer, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for everyone who has supported my small channel over the years. Somehow I have 1,700 subscribers, and even though that's microscopic in the YouTube world, I'm extremely thankful for that. And it motivates me to keep making new videos about this car and stuff that could help you guys fix your own Porsches and keep them on the road. So for today's video, I wanted to show you guys the installation of a roll bar into this car. And for those of you that have been following my build since the beginning, I bought this car in 2015, an eternity ago, and when I got it, it came with a roll bar installed, but I took it out because my kids I have two daughters, and at the time they were very, very little, and they were small enough to fit in the back seat so that we could all take family rides together and expose them to the magic of this car while they were little. And well, fast forward to now, and they are 10 and 12 years old. They are both over 4 feet tall, and they don't really fit in the back seat anymore. So, a lot of fun rides in here as a family, but now that we can't really use the back seat for anything, I thought it was a good opportunity to show you guys how the roll bar that came with the car installs into this car, just so that if you're thinking of getting a roll bar, you can see the pros and cons of this particular style, and hopefully get an idea of what's involved, and and also learn about the other types of roll bars that are out there, so that hopefully you can get something that suits your needs. For me in particular, as you've seen, I've been autocrossing my car for the past couple of years or so. I love it, have a lot of fun doing it, and I want to be able to. I need to put harnesses on the driver's seat so that I can be held in the car a little bit better and concentrate more on driving. So since I have the roll bar and it cost me $0, rather than buying a harness bar or some other solution, I figured this is a great time to just rip out the back seat and put the roll bar back in, put some harnesses on the driver's side, and make it look a little cooler, and enjoy my time a little more when I'm autocrossing. And I do quite a little bit of canyon driving here and there, so just for peace of mind, it would be nice to have something reinforcing the roof in the event of a unfortunate accident happening. So I'll show you guys how this is installed. So I'm not too crazy about this style of roll bar. I think it's called an auto power roll bar. It's very common. A lot of other Porsches have this same style of roll bar. The chassis has holes in the floor already so that you can bolt it in. So rather than drilling new holes in the body, may as well use the old ones and just put the roll bar back in. So yeah, that's pretty much all that there is to know about the bar. So let's get to it. Let me show you what we got and what's involved in the installation. So here's the roll bar that came with the car. As I mentioned before, it used to be yellow, and I painted it satin black. I used some of that VHT high temperature roll bar paint, and it's actually held up pretty well. It's got lots of bumps and scratches from just storage and getting moved around. It's sort of tough to store this giant jungle gym here in the garage, but this is pretty much it. It's got the one hoop that goes all the way around. It's got the two diagonal bars that go from the top corners back, and they mount into the rear wheel wells. It's got one diagonal that goes across above from the
lower right side to the upper left side above the driver's head, actually behind the driver's head. And then it's got this horizontal bar that lets you mount the harnesses roughly about there. And then this little tiny bar here, I'm guessing is more of a just for to hold the back of the seat in case it rests against that. On my car, it just sort of just sits there and floats. Yeah, this is it's fairly heavy. It's all steel. It's 1 3/4 inch tubing, 120 wall. Yeah, pretty heavy duty. I've never weighed the whole thing, so I don't know how much it weighs, but I'm hoping taking the back seat out will offset some of that weight. I do recall that it does make the chassis a little bit stiffer, so hopefully that'll help me in my autocross adventures. The bar, that the one hoop and the two diagonals that go back, they both have floor plates that you have to drill holes for into the floor. So the damage has already been done in my car, so I'm just gonna, reuse this same system. And I still have the mounting plates and the hardware saved from the previous install. For now, these are all nylock nuts. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall it with this hardware just for demonstration purposes, and then eventually I'm going to go back and probably after the video I'll go back and replace this with nicer hardware, maybe some drilled nuts that I can safety wire. In order to install this in my car, we essentially have to disassemble the interior a little bit. In this one, I can get away with just removing the passenger seat. So there are two bolts holding the rails to the floor in the front, 2 in the back. You can take the seat and scooch it back and get access to the 2 bolts on the 2 front bolts on the front rails. You can take those off, and then you can scooch the seat forward so that you can get access to the 2 bolts in the back. Then the whole seat will come out. You'll have the ECU down there, so I usually just throw a floor mat on it so I don't damage it. Then back in here, that seat it does tilt forward, so I may just tilt it forward a little bit for more clearance. But I will be permanently removing the lap belts. This one on both sides. I'll be removing the rear seat backrests on both those. Those will come out of the car. And then I'll have to remove these 2, actually before that, I'll have to remove the entire rear package tray, and this piece right here that sits against the firewall. Just a few interior screws, sheet metal screws, and then the whole thing comes out. And then lastly, I'll have to remove the rear side panels, that one and this one over here, because the diagonals for the roll bar go down into this, where these plugs are. So ideally at some point I'd like to get one of those really cool RS carpet kits back here, so that everything is just bare and you can leave the bar with zero interior stuff back here. But in the meantime, I'm going to take these out, remove these plugs, and then put the bar through there, bolt up the entire roll bar, and then I'll put the rear package tray back in, as well as the 2 side panels in. These lower cushions will stay here for now, just because I don't have any other thing to cover the floor. But these the belts and the backrests will be out, so we'll just have a nice little jungle gym back here. And yeah, so let's get started disassembling some stuff. after you take the seat out with the 4 bolts, you can see that ECU is right there. I actually don't know off the top of my head if the 3.2 Carrera one is in the same location. I would imagine that it is, but I don't know for sure. This is an SC, so this is the Lambda one. So 1980 to 1983 cars will have this ECU here. The earlier SCs will not. And you can see these are the old holes where the roll bar used to go. I just plugged them with some shorter bolts so that I wouldn't get water or crud up from the ground into the cabin. The seat belts mount with 1 bolt each, so I'll proceed to take those off. And then the backrests have a pin that holds them into this inner post, and you get a big flathead screwdriver and remove this screw, and then the whole things will come out. Now with the back seat bits out, time to take off the rear shelf. This is where I'm actually not 100% sure how stock this is, because this interior has been redone before, but my rear shelf is only held on with 2 screws, 2 there and 2 over there. And I have these little tassel things that you use to hold up the back seat. So take these off, and then this will come out. And if you have rear speakers, you're going to have some wiring behind there, and the speakers might be heavy, so be careful as you take it out so that you can unplug the wires behind the speakers and withdraw this whole thing out of here. Now with the rear package shelf off, it's time to do the little side panels here. Now, this is where there are several options. I basically need to remove these, get them loose so that I can insert the roll bar tube through here, get underneath and bolt the plate against the wheel well in place. So I'm just gonna pull this up and then eventually put it back down. If you are installing like one of those RS carpet kits, you probably, I'm guessing you take these off completely, and then you'll just glue the carpet down and punch some holes for the bolt-in roll bar plate and bolts to go through. So at that point, I guess it's kind of up to you. For me, since I'm just going to remove this temporarily, and keep the belt, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, there are 3 screws here for this little top trim piece. 1, 2, and 3, and then this little leather covered trim piece comes off, and now this panel here will be loose, and then you can sort of, you know, move it out of the way to get access underneath it. So now my little side panels are off. These are kind of sort of attached to the bottom part, so just be careful, don't rip them off. You can see here now that the rear shelf has this big old insulation rubber thing. So it's up to you if at this point you want to go ahead and replace it with, it's kind of heavy, replace it with something a little thinner, lighter and more modern, in the name of lightness. Also, the rear package tray has a little tab in here. There's a hook that holds this panel in without using a fastener in here. Also on the side panels, there's a hook right there, and over here there's a hook here, which do the same thing. Since you only screw the top 1, 2, 3 corners, this front edge tucks behind this kind of B-pillar trim, and the hook part, which kind of sits about, where's the hook? It is right there. That hook looking thing goes into there, and the back edge tucks in behind this so that you don't need any extra fasteners down here on this side. So just be conscious of that and don't pull straight out. You got to pull up to release them out of the way. And now here I'm just gonna take my little rubber plugs out. I really don't like the way this was cut, but whatever. This was a decision done by the previous owner, so I'm gonna roll with it for now. Next up, I'm going to remove the these are the inside. This is the inside face of the rear wheel wells. As you can see, there are, on my bar, there are 2 bolts here. There are 2 bolts on that side. This is where the diagonal bar, the rear facing diagonals mount to. So I can take these bolts out by reaching underneath the tire. The nuts are accessible from there, so I can take the nuts off and these pull out. Same thing on the other side. And down here on the floor, right inboard of the B pillars, there are 3 more bolts that need to come out with nuts accessible from below the floor in front of the back tire. So there's the wheel well bolts for the diagonal, and here they are behind the tire. Pretty easy to get to. And then the ones on the floor are right there. Again, easy to get to. While you're in here with these side panels off, this is a good time to do what you need to do with the seat belts. If you want to replace them with new reels, this is a good time to do it because everything is exposed. You just remove 1 bolt on the reel itself under the side panel, 1 bolt on the B pillar, and another bolt down here on the floor, and then you can swap them out with new ones. Now comes the fun part, which is to take the large loop and maneuver it into the cabin as carefully as possible. I can get this done with the driver's seat in place. You might not be able to. You might have to take both seats out, but I can sort of loop it in there. Then when you loop it in there, you got to pick it up, sort of roughly put it in position, maybe put some bolts in the holes to hold it where it should be in position. Then at the same time, or slightly after that, then you take the diagonal bars and put those in position. And in my case, I need to put them underneath the side panels through the holes and put the diagonals and the side panels in position, and kind of roughly bolt those in place. So this is the toughest part of the job. If you have a brand spanking new or perfect headliner, be very careful. As you can see, my headliner has a bunch of holes punched in it, so the guy who owned it before me was not so careful. So I don't need to worry about that, but yeah, be careful and don't punch any holes in your headliner. are safely inside the car. Didn't break any windows or punch any new holes, thank goodness. Now, in order to bolt these guys to the floor, you're probably going to need the backing plates. This plate will go on the inside, obviously, and the backing plate will go on the outside of the sheet metal to sandwich the stock car sheet metal in between two heavy plates. Also, your hardware is probably going to be two different lengths. Short ones and long ones. The long ones go they're long enough for the diameter of the bar, and the short ones are long enough for the sheet metal, just enough for the sheet metal on the two plates. So make sure you're using the right bolts for the right location. So this by far will be the most challenging part of the installation. If you're installing a brand new bar, you better hope that the bar came with instructions and potentially some hole drilling templates so that you can locate the holes in the correct location on the body and center punch them and drill them to have your mounting holes in the correct location. If not, you're going to need to pre-build the bar as best as possible so that you can manually mock it up inside the interior, mark where the holes are, and drill them in the correct location. Also, you might need a second person to help you not only hold the bar in place and keep it from tipping over or moving while you're locating the hole locations, but just generally through the whole installation, you may need someone to help you out with holding things in place while you fight the the slight misalignments in any of the bolt holes and stuff to get this thing put together. The important thing is to be slow, be patient, be methodical. Don't be afraid to take a break or stop and continue the next day. Just get through it step by step and measure twice, drill once, and be very gentle so that you don't break anything or punch holes or tear in anything in your upholstery.
Right and tidy. Finally.
Okay, so this bar is now installed. As you can see, I struggled for quite a bit getting the diagonals and the bar to line up in all the holes and putting the bolts in and all that stuff. A second person might help, especially in trying to get bolts aimed correctly, or keeping bolts up here from spinning while you're underneath, holding up the backing plate and the washers and the nuts. But I did get it installed, and it's on here pretty good now with the backing plates on all four points. So I've got my side panels in place, and they are more or less, they kind of fit okay. They don't fit that great on this side, but on this side they fit okay. And the amount of struggling that I had to do to get these things to fit was kind of stupid. Honestly, if you were going to install a roll bar, just get rid of the back interior and do one of those RS carpet kits that is just some black thin carpet that goes around the entire back. Yeah, you need to part ways with the rest of your interior, so you can just rip this all out, put carpet in, and just make it look nice. But These are back in place. This will do for now. I'm going to put my rear package tray in, and then we'll put in the diagonal bar. So here it is. The jungle gym is finally done. This cross piece that has the diagonal and the harness bar bolts at 1, 2, 3, 4 corners, and then this top little sort of backrest thing also bolts back there. Man, this was a struggle to get this in here because, you know, the things don't want to line up absolutely nicely. So like, for example, up here I couldn't get the two holes to line up, the tabs on the bar on the hoop and the hole in the diagonal. So what I ended up having to do is getting a tapered punch, putting it in through the back and sort of levering it to get the holes to line up. Then I could shove a bolt halfway through the front, and then I can remove the punch, and then I can use a mallet to tap it the rest of the way in, and then put a washer nut and then torque it all down. But yeah, you're gonna struggle. This is just the way aftermarket parts fit. And another thing to keep in mind here is that sometimes these bars interfere with the function of the seat belts, in particular the loop here on the B pillar. I know the G body seat belt had, this loop was a little fatter, if you will, and unfortunately it would kick the seatbelt up at an angle like this, and the belt wouldn't want to function very well. So I replaced my belt with this newer one, which is I think it's a 964 or 993 newer belt, and you know, allows the reel to function correctly. So just something to watch out for, the clearance between the bar and the B pillar. But this is all done. Now I'm gonna put the, oh, actually, before I put the seats in, you're gonna have some back and rear seat belt holes that are exposed. You're gonna have to put in some bolts of the correct thread with like a low profile head to kind of cap the holes, or some rubber plugs, or maybe I'll 3D print some tiny plugs in plastic and, you know, tap them in there with a hammer or something, some press fit type of things. Yeah, we're ready to put the seat back in and vacuum everything up and get my mats in, and we're good to go. Okay, so here's the final install. These guys are left over, so I will save them for another time when I want to return the car back to stock. But basically now this is all wrapped up. We've got nice little roll bar in here, all bolted in. The rear looks mostly buttoned up, except for these two holes that are in the panels. But you know, it's still a fairly clean install, and I can still put bags back here for a little weekend trip or something. So it's still useful for a kind of a storage area. I'm going to put a 5 or 6 point harness on afterwards. I won't include it in the video because that's a whole other topic in itself. Now I can put a GoPro here and have a slightly different POV when I'm shooting my own autocross videos. But yeah, otherwise it's all buttoned up. One drawback to this style of bar is that this mat doesn't quite sit all the way down because the mounting plate is obviously right here, and the same thing happens on this other corner. So just one of the drawbacks of this style of bar. It kind of is what it is. Then the view out the back, you can see yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so we'll roll with this for a few years, and for autocross purposes, and you know, we'll see how that goes. So that's about it. A lot of work to put this roll bar in, but I hope you got a little taste of what it's like to install one. The pros and cons of one, including the permanent modifications that are required in your vehicle for some style of roll bar. I think in summary, if I had to, if I could go back in time and decide whether I wanted to install this roll bar before putting holes in the ground into the floor pan, I would say no. Personally, I'm kind of a purist, and I don't like to put unnecessary holes into the chassis if I can help it. So I would have not chosen this type of roll bar. I would have chosen one that had a removable, just a bolt-in assembly. Maybe on the there are some that bolt onto the seatbelt mounting points. That way you can completely reverse it and not make any permanent modifications to the vehicle. But this one's already in here, so you know, that's why I've decided to stick with it for now. Also, you don't have to have a roll bar. You can also just put a harness bar if you want to put harnesses on a bucket seat if you're doing autocross, or you know, that kind of a thing. In general, just depending on the activity that you want to do, whether it's tracking, autocross, canyon driving, or just showing up to your local Cars and Coffee, you know, make sure that the hardware that you install meets the rules of whatever activity it is that you're trying to partake in. If you're trying to do certain track days with certain organizations, make sure that your bar will meet the requirements of the material, the amount of connecting points in the chassis, and all that good stuff. Yeah, so that's about it. And if you're racing, like racing wheel to wheel, that's kind of out of the scope of this video. Most likely that's going to be a permanent weld-in cage that has to follow specific rule books. But as I said, that's out of the scope of this. But I hope that you learned something, and that this was helpful for you. Please give this video a like and subscribe, and share it if you can. And as always, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.